Welcome to Forming a Business, part of the Starting Your Own Business series, presented by Meyer and Associates, Counsels at Law, PLLC. First, a disclaimer. This presentation is designed to give general information about the topic and does not constitute legal, financial, or accounting advice. Before taking any action, it is recommended that you speak with an attorney, accountant, or an investment professional. A little bit about me. My name is Justin Meyer, and I'm an attorney licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Florida. I publish articles on investing and best practices due diligence. I've also helped form numerous companies. I work with businesses from startup and through ongoing concerns. This talk will cover 4 main topics: the types of business entities, how to choose the right entity for your business, how to form a business, and then what documents you might consider for your business. The first type of business is a sole proprietor. This is a default entity when you don't have a business set up. All you have to do is start doing business, and then you're ready to go. However, the owner has total liability for all business debts. That goes beyond anything that you signed for to any problems or any lawsuits. General partnership is similar to a sole proprietorship. It's the default entity when there's more than one owner. Without an agreement, all partners are equal partners, and all partners have total liability. What does that mean? It means that if one partner has money and another doesn't, the partner with money is going to be the one who's responsible for all the business debts, no matter who incurred the debt. LLCs are the newest, or limited liability corporate companies are the newest type of business entity, and they've got the most flexibility. They can be owned by one person or by many. They can be managed by an owner or an outside manager. And they have, because of their flexibility, you can distribute profits and losses differently. You can distribute voting rights differently. This is supposed to be the newest way of owning a business. There are several reasons why it hasn't taken off yet to the level that a lot of people thought that it would. But it is probably one of the best for most new businesses. And then, of course, there's the corporation. The corporation is the most well-known. It's owned by shareholders, but unlike some LLCs, it must file its own tax return. An LLC only needs to if there are multiple owners. Unlike an LLC, regardless of how many owners an LLC has, a corporation must have at least one employee. If only the owners are the ones doing the work, they still must be employees of a corporation, which is not true of an LLC. Because a corporation must have at least one employee, it must pay payroll taxes, and you can't get around that. Unlike LLCs, corporations have several formalities. They must maintain board of directors meetings, shareholders meetings. But whereas LLCs have some variation in law, corporations don't really. Laws governing corporations are generally consistent throughout the country. Within corporations, there's a smaller group called subchapter S corporations, otherwise known as S corps. These work a little bit more like LLCs do. They allow pass-through of profits and losses to shareholders, and in order to qualify as an S corp, you must first file a form with the IRS, an S election, and then you have to have certain things. You must have fewer than 100 shareholders. They all must be citizens or residents, and for the most part, they must all be individuals. There's certain trusts that can hold stocks. If you get into that, then you want to speak with an attorney. And of course, you can't issue more than one class of stock. That becomes a problem if you want to limit voting rights of some people, which you can do in an LLC without having any penalty. So how do you know which entity is right for you? Well, you have to start by looking at how many owners will there be. If there are going to be a lot of owners, then you really want to look at whether an LLC is right or a corporation is right for you. If there's only going to be one or two, then it's a different analysis. If there's only going to be one, an LLC can appear on a Schedule C of a personal tax return, whereas a corporation cannot. That said, Schedule C tax returns are more likely to be audited. You want to look at who's going to be running the company. Will all the owners be equal partners, or will they not? And how can you best handle that? Will there be employees? And will the business end up owing any debts? Finally, you want to look at where you're going to be doing business. If you're going to be doing business nationwide, you probably want to go with a corporation as opposed to an LLC. So how do you form a business? If you're a sole proprietor or a general partnership, just start doing business. You can file for a business license with the county clerk. If you're a plumber, an electrician, or a trade, you may need a license from the state. But for the most part, you just start doing business. If you're an LLC, it's a little harder. You need to file articles of organization with the New York Department of State or the State Department of State, wherever you are. In New York, an LLC must publish to notify everybody of their existence, and that is actually a significant cost above filing, especially in Nassau, Suffolk, and New York City. If you're a corporation, you file articles of incorporation with the Department of State. There's generally no publication requirement there. And then for all businesses, we recommend that you apply it to the IRS for an employer ID number, which is basically the business's social security number. This way you don't have to give out your own. What documents do you need? Well, if you're a partnership or an LLC, you really should consider a partnership or operating agreement. These documents are roughly the same, and what they are is details about how the company will run. It details the powers of the managers versus non-manager owners, the rights of the owners to fire the manager or to replace them or to do other things, and then how and when meetings will be held. It also lays out who will handle the day-to-day and the other important parts of running the business. For corporations, you need bylaws. Bylaws are pretty much a required part of having a corporation, and they don't handle the day-to-day so much as they handle how the organization will be set up. Remember, a corporation must have directors, so the number of directors are set out in the bylaws, how often they'll meet, how often the shareholders will meet, which has to be at least once a year, when and where these meetings will take place, and conflict of interest policies and other policies like that. You can generally find boilerplate bylaws online, and that may suffice because the real running of the corporation will be done day to day by the president of the corporation. Partnerships, corporations, and LLCs would want to consider buy-sell agreements. Now, sometimes this will appear in a partnership agreement or an operating agreement, but it doesn't have to. What this does is it allows partners to require the transfer of ownership interests within the company upon either death or retirement. The reason why you want this is because you're going into business with your partners. You don't necessarily want to go into business with their families or with random outsiders. It protects the S-election if you're a corporation, and it also gives some protection to your families, or the families of the owners, because you know that they're going to get a fair price for their interest. You can set the price either through a formula or through a set price at the time of signing, although we do recommend using a formula and not setting a price because the business valuation may change. You can fund it through life insurance, and some people do. You can also fund it through other means. And that's it. If you have any questions, you can contact us, 631-434-7633, or you can email me, jmeyer@meyeresq.com. Please remember to go to our website, www.meyeresq.com, and for more topics like this, you can visit our blog, legalnotes.meyeresq.com. I hope you found this informative, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.